Let's bring in Sue Firth now, who is a psychologist and stress expert. Good afternoon, Sue.
Hello.
So what's your view on all of this? Should we be night owls or rise with the dawn, do you think?
Well, I think one of the reasons why we look at studies like this, particularly as psychologists, is because what we tend to be a bit nervous about or interested in is whether or not being one or the other gives you an added or increased propensity for anxiety or depression. And these are some of the most typical complaints that people come to the doctor's surgery with, so we tend to want to analyse why. And one of the correlates is when people actually go to bed really consistently very late, there is a risk factor that they don't make enough serotonin because we make it at night. And serotonin is the happy hormone. So if they're going to be short of that because they are potentially sleep deprived, it could correlate with an increased difficulty in their mood or a range of mood swings and therefore a range of stress-related symptoms.
What would you say is your natural state? Do you prefer to stay up late or get up early?
I love getting up early. I have to be honest with you that I find the light in general, particularly as it comes into my bedroom, is the biggest trigger for me. And then I find that there's a strong inclination for me to want to get out of bed. And because I want to, then very clearly that feels as if that becomes a habit for me. And therefore, I feel that's quite natural to me. It wouldn't feel so comfortable for me to therefore be up until, 1 or 2 in the morning regularly. But teenagers tend to find that they don't get sleepy until about 3 hours after they are likely to once they become adults. So very clearly we do have different circadian rhythms at different stages of our lives. I think you then just have to be aware that you might push it and believe that that is what you prefer to do, and then it becomes a habit even in your adulthood.
And as part of your psychology work, you deal with stress in people as well. And some people, of course, for work, have no choice but to stay up late or get up early. How can we cope with those things?
Yeah, well, I think you're probably right, really, that when people actually do it either out of choice, therefore they develop a certain coping mechanism to handle it. They clearly are just a little bit at risk, though, that they may rely on caffeine, for example, in order to be able to keep themselves awake. And the problem with caffeine is it does have quite what we call a half-life. It takes quite a few hours to get it out of the system. So most people will find typical substances to help them perk them up. And the obvious is caffeine, sugar, and so forth. And it's one of the reasons why staying up quite late also correlates quite highly with getting a bit heavier, unfortunately.
Oh, I can imagine.
You're likely to snack. And it's just not so easy to work it off either. So you've just got to allow for a greater inclination to exercise the following day. Push yourself just a little bit and all will work out well.
Oh, Sue, that's great advice. Thank you very much indeed. That was Sue Firth, a psychologist and stress expert.